Greetings, travelers.
Greetings, travelers, alien April just made Beau Lake best day ever. That just happened.
It's so great. Oh my gosh. We got to get an album of just your intros, man. I think that's the way it's got to be. So,
Well, when we go see the brilliant and magical Destiny Beard here in a couple months, I think it's in May. We're gonna
yeah.
go see her at fair. I'm gonna record a couple with her,
Oh,
harmonize. She will be brilliant. I will be myself. That's
that'll
what's
work.
gonna happen.
But yes, it is the Green Man Festival Day, right?
Well, the 22nd is this is airing on
22nd.
the 19th, but yes, this is when we are going to honor deities of the forest. Talk about it, Mark,
Yes.
though.
Yeah, well, the Green Man, he's kind of been around us always. He was in a lot of churches and cathedrals for centuries, and nobody really knew why. The first recorded references kind of go back to the second century, but his origins really are lost in time. It was he Druidic. The Wiccans have really embraced him, and he symbolizes the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. He's like the male godhood versus Wicca is the female goddess, the earth goddess. So this is kind of like the mating of the two. It's very divinity. He's a pagan symbol who heralds spring after the long winter and the renewal of the vegetation, right? He's
So
also
this is
called
like my Hat Man, Woman in White combo that may or may
right,
not be existing.
right. He's been tied into the Arthurian legend of the Green Knight. He's been tied into even Robin Hood a little bit, Jack in the Green, but he's not really widely known. It's funny. It's because you see the Green Man images and stuff like that, but you don't really know. And so basically, if you're walking through a forest of ancient woodlands and you get that feeling that you're not alone, the chances are the Green Man is watching you. That's what
But
it's
it's
supposed to
a
be.
it's a nice spirit, as I
Yeah.
recall, right?
Yeah,
Like
no, he's basically very worshipful, and you want to just basically lay out some branches and honor the forest and honor the spirits. There's the Green Man Church is amazing and one of those wonderful places to go visit. It really doesn't show up till like 1939 in folklore, so it's kind of interesting. And that it's around Beltane or May Day. Sometimes they worship him there too.
that's interesting. I mean, the whole thing is interesting, but I love that we're talking about a nice spirit of the forest because I feel like far too often we're talking about the not nice spirits in the
Yeah,
forest. So
he's more of
that's
a keeper of the forest and the woods. He's very much an environmental guardian.
I
So
like it. I like it. Well, because we have kind of an epic episode today, but I have some very bizarre breaking news.
breaking news.
And we're going to post this link in the show notes because I had to read this. Beau posted it and I thought it was a joke. And then I went
Oh,
down a little bit of a research rabbit hole. And unfortunately, it's not a joke. And I don't even have quite words to describe how I
oh
feel about
man, this
this.
is
But
yeah. When I looked into it too, I was like, wow, this and there is some history to this as well. So
so apparently, Sierra Leone, which is over, I believe, in Africa, correct, declared a state of emergency after addicts started digging up the graves to get high on drugs that are made from human bones. It's a narcotic that emerged about 6 years ago. So, what's happening is people are raiding tombs, graveyards, and digging up human bones to make this drug. And it's such a bad thing that they're having to actually like do police states and put guards around cemeteries and stuff like that.
do you
Apparently,
want
the drug
do you
is
want a
called
zombie
Kush.
uprising? Do you want a zombie uprising? Because this is how you get a zombie uprising. I swear. So
I'm telling you, we're going to do zombies. I think next month or the month after, we're going to go down our zombie superhighway. But I was like, are you kidding me? Like, this isn't even remotely funny because people
and
put their things to rest. And I don't even want to talk about like what this means when you desecrate a grave and
and
then
this
inject it or snort it or whatever they're doing.
This goes back to the Victorian grave robbing, back when we were, snake oil salesmen and stuff like that. They would do stuff like this as well. It's pretty crazy. Oh, that's great, Bo. Time to snort someone's grandma. That's good.
Okay, okay, that just went off the rails. But what the heck is wrong with
But yeah,
you?
you used to be able to buy bone dust and stuff like that. But mostly it was from animals, but you paid the premium for the good stuff. There's a couple old movies about grave robbers that I'll have to dig up. There was one that I recall Ron Perlman in, and I'll have to dig that up. But it's a comedy, and it starts with them robbing graves, but then it zombies, werewolf. They find out the weirder graves are the ones that pay better, so they have to
Oh,
start doing stuff like that. So it's pretty fun.
you'll have to look it up, throw it in the show notes. But
I don't
I'm
remember
just
the name
saying,
of it for the
like,
life of me right now.
we get to with the war that's happening and everything, you're like, seriously? Humans are the worst. That's what I'm going to say. Humans are literally the worst when it
From our
comes to everything. I'm
from
like,
our book club with Good Omens, where we find out, yeah, I Sell the Dead. That's it. Thank you, Beau, for coming up with the clackety clack there. So
yeah.
yeah, I Sell the Dead. That's the movie. But yeah, the whole bit of Good Omens where Crowley, the demon's like he got credit and all these awards from hell for coming up with all these crazy things, and he's like, I didn't come up with any of those. The people just did. So,
No, it's crazy. It's crazy. So I want to throw out there that we have a special, amazing guest that is a returning guest.
thanks to high demand, but we knew it was going to be a part two when he was on the first time. So
Well, I needed to re-listen to his part one like 8 times because I was like, what the F is fucking happening here? I can say that because it's been 8 seconds. Like
yeah,
I literally, there were parts I had to rewind and go, what? Like
yep.
my brain would not accept the words that were coming out of his mouth. So we are super excited to have back, and thank you for coming back, Mr. Adam Hutton. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Thank you for having me again.
So I will say we did get some listener questions. We're going to throw that into part two, put them on the spot. But yeah, your experience, Adam, like one of the things that came up as some of the questions was, did you use special effects, blah, 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 like in the video, or people assuming? And I think we need to go back to what year was that again?
2012.
Okay, humans out there listening that don't remember 2012 because it was like 14 years ago. Technology was a very different beast back then, my friend, and we didn't have apps like CapCut where you could edit your videos or put little, bare googly ears and eyes on your face. I mean, I'm sorry, Snapchat was good for that. Snapchat and its filters, you got to give that mass cred on their filters that they did, but that's not something we had back then. 2012 was not the year of the Snapchat filters, people. So, yeah, I just think that's ridiculous. But you had more to your stories, though, correct?
There was some topics that I didn't really dive deep into that I kind of just went over just to kind of streamline the series of events that had unfolded as I kind of look back at the notes to make sure everything was kind of brought to light in numerical order. Yeah, there's a few things I guess I kind of either left out some of the juicy details or kind of overlooked.
Okay, so where do you want to begin?
I'm not really honestly sure. I was that was
The bit that got me right off the bat was the location you were at, right? Was walking over a couple roads
mhm.
in Tampa Bay. Now, as a former Tampa Bay resident and a writer of very spooky things in Tampa Bay, there was a noted book that came out called The Tampa Triangle, and that was done by Captain Hubbard of Hubbard's Marina back in the day. And he wrote about some unusual things that happened all over Tampa Bay, as well as, he was following in Charlie Carlson's footsteps of weird Florida and all that. Now, we were discussing the area near Bay Pines, I
Mhm.
think, and then flying over towards MacDill is the Navy flight path, right? And MacDill Air Force Base flight path. There's a lot of flight paths right over there with a lot of unusual, experimental craft and all that. That's where, the Central Command is for the Gulf and everything. SOCOM is there and everything. CENTCOM, sorry. SOCOM's a video game. Um,
Great game. Great
I was
game.
working at GameStop right there, so that's why that's why my brain went there. So that was, some people were convinced that this might have been something government related, like maybe some sort of experiment. Yeah, Bay Pines right there is the biggest VA hospital, I think, in the United States.
Right.
They thought maybe some testing or something like that. I don't think we went there. Let's
That's true.
refresh everybody on your event real quick. You had basically an experience up near Seminole area first, right?
Yep. It was on the Pinellas County Trail on the overpass of the Pinellas County Trail crossing Seminole Boulevard.
Okay. And so now that was where you first got sick?
We just came across the murder of crows and decided to pull out the phone, started filming, felt some sort of moisture, and then the impulse of just induced vomiting, no pre-warning signs or anything like that. And then not really thinking much of it, but going back and reviewing the footage, seeing where the glitches were, and most recently, years later, now seeing all the comments in the videos after being uploaded to disclose people's comments saying that they were EVP like specialists. I know one specifically was Ghostwriter's Paranormal Portal, another paranormal researcher. He said that there was hidden audio around 44 seconds and there was a muffled scream near the end of the video where I was saying, "What the hell is happening?" He said you can hear that they tell you exactly what happened, saying that you were abducted, and it was like you have to cancel out the noise in order to get this kind of EVP voice and all of that. And when you go back, I can kind of eerily enough hear it, some sort of words being spoken, or whether it's just a mixture of tones from the crows or the noise of the cars going by. It's weird kind of going back and hearing that, and then hearing the clips in the audio where the audio completely just drops out, and this is all one take video. This wasn't edited to crop something or made for TikTok or anything like that. I still have the raw original clip of it, aside from the one that was uploaded to YouTube. Managed to get it on an external hard drive.
Good. I was about to say, hang on to that and definitely back it a couple places. So,
oh yeah,
we've had several friends, including a documentarian, that lost a whole 3 days of material because he forgot to back it up. So,
with how quick it already corrupted the phone, within days of saving it to a different device and losing all the other footage that I had of minutes after that video happened, where my friend, you can see him just in complete panic and still feeling things crawling around his head, and
the sensations.
I had that footage.
The sensations you must have been feeling are just mind-boggling to me. It's scary and stuff. And then it happens again. How long between the first event and then that second event?
It couldn't have been but 3 or 4 days. I'm assuming, I don't remember the exact moment, but it had to happen right around like December 29th, something like that.
Yeah, I don't think we had gotten that clear in the first one. So
yeah, well, actually, that because that happened 12/21/2012, and then my fiance at that time had left me 5 days later, so that was the day after Christmas. So yeah, that puts it around. Yeah, and then that like first 4 days after that, so around the 28th, 29th.
Wow, all Christmas break.
That was a break, all right.
Yeah, not a good year.
I just want to point out that I think it's interesting that, not that you have to believe everything somebody says. Perception's reality. We talked a lot about that this month. But the fact of the matter is that I think it's interesting that instead of being willing to step back and look at something from somebody's perspective, so many people have this innate need to debunk or destroy what somebody's saying. Right? Instead of stepping back and going, this is their experience, the experience they had, that you don't have to believe it. Adam's not going, you have to believe what happened to me. He's going, this is my story. You can choose to believe it or not believe it, as we do anything on this podcast. But the inherent thing to try to tear down somebody just for the sake of doing it, I don't know what people get out of it other than being right. We talked a little bit about this with Roger when he was on the thing, is this inherent need for people to be right in their beliefs, that everyone else has to be wrong instead of several people can be right in their beliefs, right? It's such a bizarre thing to me. But sorry, just had to interject that because, it's a phenomenal experience that you had, and it's your experience. And I don't know if people going, oh, it's this, you just go, are you trying to get him to go, oh, you know what? Never mind. I didn't have this whole experience I carried with me for years. JK, it was a filter. Like, what the hell is the point? Anyway, okay.
Absolutely.
Moving back on.
It's wild rehashing all these like memories and stuff well over a decade ago. I mean, most people would even say, why is it even relevant nowadays? I mean, most people, things that happened in 2014 when the government dropped all the UFO footage,
Yep.
and then
I would
2018,
say this is right
it's
pre-UAP. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
and now they're changing UAP from unidentified aerial phenomenon to unidentified, what was it? Anomalous?
Yeah. Yeah.
Phenomenon?
Anomalous. UAA. Whatever. Yeah. AARO. Anomalous aerial. Whatever. Yeah. It's
Hmm.
they got to change the name every once in a while, and it's
Yeah, I've been
ridiculous.
reviewing the AARO
Yeah.
paperwork and everything of the documents that came out in February, and looking over, and just it's just a whole I don't know if I believe it anymore, unless it's just some sort of like psyop thing of just like, oh yeah, we're gonna tell you, we're investing all this money into someone who's going to blow the lid on this thing, and then make you put all this trust in this company or whatever that's
Yeah.
being campaigned from NASA or all these other people we're supposed to trust. And
Bigelow
yeah.
Aerospace and all this
Yeah.
other stuff. Yeah. And it's the 23rd parallel, all these other fun things. We'll
Mhm.
get there at some point, but every 20 years we've got to come up with a new theory that we got to debunk later.
Right.
So, and then we find out 40 years from now, oh wait, we were right. So,
I'm amazed to see what all the experimentation that's happening this month is going to bring from all the data that we've received from the rockets we put up into space during the eclipse, or CERN using its Large Hadron Collider to smash some more particles together, I guess,
yeah.
in the middle of the eclipse or whatever else is going on. And we got AI that's trying to process insufficient data that's getting collected from all these other sources, trying to still find the origins and nature of these UAPs. It's so crazy. What a
It's,
time to be alive, and what a time to
it
be
is
a ufologist and UFO enthusiast.
Alien April, baby. That's why we're doing it. So
Absolutely.
So true and so crazy. So true and so crazy. Okay, so what else? Because you've got a little list there. Keep us going down your list, Adam. This is exciting.
Yeah, I did overthink a lot, so that
That's okay. I
that comes with
never
the
do that.
territory of
Anyone
this.
who knows me knows I never overthink anything. Go
no,
down.
not at all. Not
You
at
might
all.
call
Never.
the
I'm
conspiracy
never
theorist
guilty of that.
a critical thinker. So I like that term a lot better.
I like that a lot better too. That's
You
good. I
know,
like that.
someone who likes to kind of take the curtain away. Man, what else did we not go over? Aside from the nightmares, those were awesome. At least bad. I was just kind of re-reviewing one of them in my head and kind of redrawing what I remember from it, seeing like the surface of their face and just the textures and everything like that, how it kind of looked like the craters of the moon. And it's so weird, the
So
depth
do
of
you
the eyes and
still get
everything.
nightmares?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I gotta ask about the nightmares. Are you able to do lucid dreaming in them? Like, are you able to wake yourself up, or are you like at the
Absolutely.
effect of the nightmare?
It's not as common as I'd hope it'd be, but they do happen very, very often to where I'm fully aware that I'm in my dream. It's whether it's a sinking ship on top of a building that's falling or collapsing and in some crazy way, or it's always some sort of catastrophe too. It's weird how, and this has always happened. This has happened over the span of 15, 20 years, going back as far as one of the first houses I lived in as a kid. I remember having nightmares there of just of everything. It never really had good dreams. I don't remember those if I did, but it's been a fluid my entire life of like, oh, that's another nightmare. Wake up and be like, oh man, more nightmares again. I mean, I also do fill my head with a lot of horror movies and things like that. So I can't really
We
say
get
too much
drawn to
about that.
that. When you have these unusual experiences, you tend to get drawn to horror and sci-fi because you sit there and go, "Hey,
Mhm.
it rings
Well,
a bell."
I enjoy the sci-fi stuff so much because it's only science fiction until it's not anymore,
Yeah.
and I think as our civilization has still progressed, a lot of that sci-fi, stuff that was in the books and things we would never see have come to fruition, and we've seen great advancements in our technology, whether that been from, you know, aliens that kind of spoon fed that to us through multiple agreements from military establishments, but who knows?
Mm.
Yeah, the reason I asked that question is because I'm curious how often do you think you're reliving the experience in your dream versus expanding upon it or creating new scenarios? I don't know if I'm asking that correctly, but like
I've
some
still
of us have had traumas that have happened, right? And we can relive and replay that trauma or parts of that trauma to us, right? And then I don't know about others, but I tend to sometimes then invent other scenarios that go with the trauma.
That's exactly
Like,
what I was about to touch on. Yeah.
yeah,
I think my brain has processed some sort of subconscious similar trauma to where it keeps repeating that fear of falling. I can't go over real high areas. I hate bridges. I don't, and which is weird because then you see all these bridge collapses things that are happening now. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe that was, something like
Mothman.
that.
Just kidding.
No,
I believe in premonitions, and it's a lot of those too. Go with gut and intuition that we've touched on a little bit in the last video as well. And I'll never not follow my gut again. That's for sure. Like lately, it's always been, I got to question it, and maybe we'll just see what happens. But now I'm especially since our last episode together, I've been definitely going with the flow more and kind of just carrying that cosmic breeze and seeing how things unfold. And it's been working out pretty awesomely lately in a positive way. I mean, like the transparency from being able to regurgitate things out of my head is starting to flow out more. I'm working more with my art, so I don't feel so constricted of needing to feel like I have to do something specific or talk about something specific or engage in a specific way. It's slowly becoming like a more natural thing.
What do you think the chances are of continued repeats? Or do you think because of where you're at and your vocalization on this, on many avenues of vocalization, you created a situation where they may not want to come back because you expose them? I don't know if I'm completely like,
Absolutely.
hey, this happened versus, and I think this is true for a lot of people that have any kind of trauma. We're talking about an abduction situation or several abduction situation, but I think any kind of trauma, there's a lot of inherent like trying to suppress that trauma or whatever. And I think it's empowering to bring it to light. But I wonder in this particular situation, because there's a third party scenario in this with these entities, do you think there's a chance that they're gonna come back?
I have a feeling closer to my deathbed in a sense of timeline. I'm not sure when that is. I have a feeling they will come back, kind of as they did with my father. I mean, they might happen sooner than that with the baby on the way. We found out it's a girl.
Yeah. Oh, hey.
Yeah,
Found out
I
yesterday.
told your family this time.
Yeah. That was another fun one. Yeah, the family found out last episode. That was our. I don't know. We didn't really plan that, but that was her.
Live on Eerie Travels, you
Right?
can announce the birth of your children. I love it.
Yeah, that was a fun morning. I used to be able to feel like something was going to happen in that sense, and then I don't know if that was just anxiety or like the gut feeling or not. I haven't felt that in a while, as I did around when that time kind of happened. I was still being able to communicate it with him, and especially through the band stuff and talking to other people and coming forward, just being open about the experiences they've shared. And I think you're right. I might have spooked them. I might have kind of pushed it to where they got close enough, but I don't know. That's another part of me that's answering one small part of the question that might not even be the right route. I don't know. I don't know if I was even chosen for a specific reason or not. Or if there was nothing special about me. They wanted something to like in the DNA of this or from my father, or I have no idea.
Wow, that is an epic rabbit hole we can go down.
Definitely is. And we do have questions from the listeners, so we will do that after we get back from a quick break, and then we'll see where this goes. Most know Florida as the land of endless sunny beaches, but the state is home to numerous eerie legends and mysterious creatures. The Everglades is home to the elusive skunk ape. In Key West lies an uncanny doll reputed to have a life of its own. Join Mark Muncy and illustrator Carrie Schultz as they uncover the history behind the state's creepiest stories in unusual locations. The Dark Side of the Sunshine State, presented in Eerie, Florida, from History Press.
Prepare to be devoured. The Wolves of Wharton is a 6-part complete book series by Eerie Travels producer Beau Lake. It has been called dark and visceral, steamy, dramatic, and a fresh take on the werewolf mythos. If you like action, adventure, a large serving of body horror, and some steamy relations, the Wolves of Wharton series is for you. Pick it up wherever books are sold, or at linktree.com/Beau__Lake.
We're back. Okay, so I'm going to ask some listener questions, Adam. That's what we'll do, and then we can talk more on things, okay?
Perfect.
We got flooded with questions, a few, which is nice because normally we don't get many questions at all from our guest episodes, but it was really good because you resonated with these people. So
I would absolutely love to be flooded with questions more than ridicule. I mean, ridicule is already always to be expected.
yeah,
But when people question and they want to know more, that is the real gift right there. That's like, okay, then I need to keep telling more of this. It was just a little peek into the door of what other experiencers have already felt, or experienced as well. So as this kind of gets put out, hopefully more do come forth.
exactly.
Yes.
And that's what we're hoping. And like I said, we've had a couple other podcasts that want to talk to you, so I will be putting you in touch with them shortly. So
You got it, man. Thank you.
Here we go. Okay. Listener question. I hope you get Adam back on. Well, we did, so answered that part.
Ta-da!
His experience was similar to my own. I saw swirling energy in the sky one day just before sunset in St. Petersburg as well. As I tried to get my phone out, I felt my stomach on fire. I had to go to the hospital and my appendix had burst. Lucky to be alive. The truth is out there. I didn't check to see if they x-rayed anything unusual. Now I want to get a scan. My event was October 1997. Tim.
So similar area, similar.
Yeah, I'm taking all those notes down. Like I just did some speed notes on that. St. Pete, the swirling in the sky. I mean, this was before direct energy weapons were even kind of announced around then, or way before that. In theory, I mean,
In theory, again, we know the government's
allegedly.
usually 40 years ahead of where we actually are. So,
right.
or at least what they've announced. 97. Wow. So phone would have been a like Nokia type thing.
or what was the one that started Motorola?
Motorola. Yeah. So
Right.
Once them Con Air phones, they
yeah. Oh man. Yeah, that was great.
Get off the phone! I need to use the internet.
Thanks for that
Any
email,
thoughts
Tim.
for Tim?
That was awesome for him to come forth on that. I like when people share their experiences, especially when it's more local. That's we can kind of triangulate on similar experiences or things we've seen in the sky or the ocean. I know there's a lot of fishermen and stuff out here that have seen crazy things in the sea, whether it be creatures or lights or bioluminescence or of any of that nature. Don't want to discredit but not forget about any of the USOs.
Yep, USOs, heck yeah. That's one of my favorites, unidentified submerged objects. I've had many a captain tell me their stories. So
absolutely. And that's when you said his name was Captain Hubbard, who wrote the
Captain Hubbard. Yep. Hubbard's Marina. He did a book called Tampa Triangle. It's hard to get. It's out of print now, but definitely worth a read.
Find. I know a couple used bookstores I might be able to find it in.
Yeah, down there.
You never know. That's the perks of being in that industry of selling toys, comics, video games, collectibles, and all that fun stuff. You get to see all kinds of wacky things and people bring you.
Yeah.
Not that one being a wacky thing, but I'm definitely gonna.
That was a hard one to get for a while. It's still around, but it's hard to get. So, but
okay.
all right.
Next question. When you do part 2 with Adam Hutton, ask him if he has nightmares of abduction or sees shadow figures. I have similar experiences to him, and I have those myself. Lindsay. Well, thank you, Lindsay, for writing in. I think we partially already answered this, but we didn't talk about shadow figures.
That was one of the topics I had written on my notes of the last episode that I never dug deep on.
Oh my gosh.
Speaking of shadow people, my very most main experience of seeing the shadow people, whether it be sleep paralysis, demons, or anything like that, completely lucid, wide awake. It must have been, it was middle school, so it was right before high school. Me and my buddy, his name was Billy. I don't want to have to say any last names just to protect his identity, because this was obviously in middle school, so well before the experience that happened in 2012. It was a late night. It was around when Xbox came out. I think we might have even tapped into it a little bit in the previous episode. I can't really remember, but it was about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and we were walking down the street because he had lived about 8 houses down from us in the same neighborhood. This was back when violence and guns and stuff were super crazy, I guess. I guess it was, but anyway, kids could walk the streets and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. We were old enough to kind of just go to sleeping parties and sleep over your friend's house and stuff like that. But I remember walking over to his house around that time, and we had saw this circular shaped object in the sky that was bigger than most of the sky. It would make the stars like go dark. You know, you could kind of see it wasn't a cloud really, because it had its own like texture to it. Like it was so close and low to the ground. And back then, I mean, we weren't really into aliens or anything like that. We were just like, oh man, that's really crazy. You know, we were just walking, and then that was the same night that we saw the shadow man standing in the doorway. I mean, I'm rushing the story here, but it still gives me chills thinking about it, because I still tell people about that experience, and because he was able to see it too. And we were in the back just playing Xbox, and we keep hearing the noises. This was still later on the night after that experience happened, and seeing this person standing in the doorway with a hat. It's crazy because it's almost too similar to everyone else's story of the man with the hat, you know, and just pitch black. You can't make out any sort of feature on his body or face, anything like that. It's like a silhouette in the already dark doorway, you know, even darker dark. It was wild. I was running away from that and hiding and having to call his mom because she was working nights and freaking out about that. And then I guess a few weeks later, he had moved out and new people had moved in. That same house had gotten shot up like the drive-by, and all the weird experiences that happened in that house. And that was my first experience that I remember of the shadow people, aside from childhood, just experiencing what I had thought was ghosts at that point in time before I knew anything of the shadow people.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of people, it gets mixed up between the two because that's all they know. You know, it's what you assume.
Well, that and both can kind of do that out of the corner of your eye thing, because most are not just standing in front of you going, sup.
Yeah, they do reside in peripherals.
Okay, thank you, Lindsay. Next one.
Excellent.
Yeah, please tell Adam his story was fascinating. Adam, your story was fascinating.
Thank you.
There, I've done that. I want to hear part 2 so badly. I was born near where it happened in the Bay Pines. My folks are military. I believe they may know more than they can tell me about aliens. Love your show, Kate. So, part 2 so badly, Adam.
Well, I'm hoping there isn't a part 2 to the abduction, because that would be wild.
Let's do a little knocking on wood to not have that happen. I'm down with not a repeat of that situation, but
let's hope not another needed surgery or anything either. So
absolutely, yeah. After car accidents and everything, and how bad they are around here, trying to avoid all that.
Let's super not do that. Okay.
And for all of our people who are in Bay Pines, we all hope speedy recoveries and all that, whatever you're going through there. It is a large VA hospital. The old bookstore I used to work at used to donate used books to there quite a bit because it was just so many people are there. It is it's a good place to be, but it is very a unique energy in that area. So because of all that.
Here is the last one. Adam was such a great guest. I agree.
Thank you.
I want to hear more. I would like to have you ask him if he has any poltergeist activity. My aunt had a strange thing removed from her ankle that had no idea where it came from. Her whole life, she said she was plagued by angry spirits. I wonder if they're connected. Anonymous. Well, Anonymous. Adam, thoughts?
As far as the term poltergeist, as far back as when I was a kid, growing up in that one specific neighborhood, we had this one apartment that we do believe to be haunted and of an elderly lady who had passed away there, and that was that same place that I would have the nightmares in every night. Like I can remember some of them because it was as silly as looking out your window and seeing dinosaurs. I was so young, that was the fear of, like, that was so wild to me. That was what struck fear into me at like a toddler age. And I remember hearing the stories that my brother and sister would tell me of seeing this lady crawling out of her wheelchair in the hallway, and the random knocks at the window.
Don't need to hear that. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead.
And then aside just from the one experience of things being moved around the house around the time the triangle patterns, circle patterns had shown up on my fiance's butt cheeks, that was the only real thing that I guess that kind of stands out that was in a paranormal ghost poltergeist fashion, just when it comes to moving things around the house. But I always kind of correlated it to the aliens is kind of fucking with me. You know?
Well, you know what? It's interesting that we're kind of talking to the point that we talk about preternatural, and we also put aliens in that category, preternatural. It's something we don't really know what it is completely. Even if we say it's aliens, that defines nothing in the great scheme of life, right?
It means it's outside. Yeah.
It's like saying it's fish. You can't just say it's fish. Like, good, we know they're in the water. That's good. That's the defining fish thing. Although some of them fly. I saw a whole thing on that. Anyway, but my point is, I think it's interesting that somebody says that they found something, because I wonder how frequent some of these people have. And it's an interesting thing to bring out, of going and getting an x-ray to look for a foreign body, because there are places now, which didn't exist back in 2012, that you can actually go get a full body scan. I think a lot of people don't realize this, but there are places you can sign up for, and they're not that expensive, to get a full body scan. And a lot of people are doing that just to preemptively check for cancer or growths or other situations within their system, blood clots, like heart attack things and stuff, where you don't normally see it unless something happens, or you go to a doctor because of something else and they go, oh, hey, we should go run this whatever CAT scan, right? But you can get these full body MRIs, full body CAT scans and stuff like that now. I think it might be something, I don't know your thoughts, to
absolutely. It's funny because I wish I would have remembered this, because we were just at the ultrasound yesterday. It's only $100. So just to get to find out a gender, I mean, I could see what I could do there just to see the foreign object. I don't know the stipulation on their paperwork, but
well, I think it's more like you go in, you get a full body scan, and I think you can get copies of the body scans and stuff like that too, from what I understand. I just have friends that have done it for health reasons, like to make sure that there's not cancer and stuff like that, because a lot of people don't realize these growth type situations, you're not going to feel it, quote unquote, feel something until it's really bad. Like it's not like you start having a cancer growth and you feel it immediately. No.
That was one thing I was concerned about too, especially with the history of my family having cancer, like my father passing of it, all of that, is that I can still feel it. Like, it's still there, it's still sore, it's been over a decade, so why would it still be tender and all of that? And not having a checkup since shortly after that being in the car accident, still over a decade ago. I would honestly love to get it checked out, but I'm still really, I am scared of finding out that's pretty much it. I'm afraid of knowing too much about this.
I think some people have that, but just as an advocate this way, because anybody who's around me knows, I am such a huge advocate that if you actually know, then there's something that you can do about it, right? If you don't know, then you're waiting to be the effect of whatever that is. Right. So I'm not saying it's easy to confront. I'm not in your shoes, obviously, at all. I'm in slippers right now under my desk, which do not belong to you because they're cozy and they belong to me. But I think that it's important to be willing to look, because I think fear ends up being one of the greatest weapons anything has, because it's something they don't have to do anything about. It's just there, right? They don't have to instill fear. You're afraid, and then you have that effect of being afraid. And it's something that we talked about a little bit when RPG was on the show, right? Was fear, being afraid of things instead of walking into situations and going, I'm not going to be afraid. Not that it's not terrifying. Don't get me wrong. I get the crap scared out of me. You just said wheelchair thing. I'm having nightmares about that tonight. So thank you for that.
No problem.
No problem, me, Adam. That's not how that works.
It's just I'm helping your imagination be creative.
Well, I'll remember that when I'm calling you in the middle of the night to bitch about the fact that I'm awake because of a wheelchair dream I just had.
I'll probably have it too.
But I think being willing to overcome the fear, to give yourself a point that you're standing on where you're have more causation than letting it affect you. I don't know. I'm sort of rambling, but I think that that's an important part of this, especially because you talked about it earlier, people giving you negative stuff and, whatever about your experience. This is why people don't come forward. Mark says this all the time. People don't come forward because we get listener questions that's literally, or stories that say, thank you for not thinking I'm crazy, because they're
Absolutely.
not, it's their perception. They're not crazy. It's,
Yeah, with ridicule becomes the veil again, and people don't, they need to remove that so there's more transparency in the community. So there's better, accurate data to be accumulated to figure out where the origin and nature of these things happen and why they happen. And I've noticed too, with some of the research I did this morning, that a lot of these UAPs and reports have been happening further west. Like, why is that happening from 1998 to 2022 more in the west than the east now? Whereas originally it was more northwest, the areas of location being closer to rural areas. I hate that word.
Yeah.
The roo. Just continue. Okay, I had to throw that in. Roo. That's like my puppy. That's the noise my puppy makes. Okay, so do you watch alien movies and TV shows, or are they too triggering?
There are some that do scrape the surface of kind of being triggering. There's a few in particular, like Extraterrestrial, not the ET, ET one. There was a really good horror film that came out a couple years back that was like, oh man, the grays in that look pretty spot on. Whew, you get this weird sick feeling in your stomach of that deja vu feeling of wow, okay, I don't know where they got the idea for that. Damn, that did, I don't know if it's because I'm used to seeing that, or if it's correlated to something in my subconscious that I've repressed, whether it be the time that was spent in an aircraft or during some abduction of mine, whether it be that or just my interest in that for creative purposes. It's hard to define why I like it, if it's just not, for that, or if it's the underlying, wow, that's closer to getting an idea of what might have been behind my experience. So it's like I'm low-key hunting for that answer still while writing that creative, I'm in an alien metal band. Yeah, I'll draw some alien art. I have to respect the pop culture of it because it's making everything underground kind of, it's a good and bad thing. But because everyone's gonna go around saying, oh, you just saw Little Green Men, but then there's also that people that's like, wow, this is a serious note, and we'll take it seriously like you guys do. And where I think those are coming out of the woodwork from people more and more, especially over the past 8 years that I've been talking about it. I've seen more and more, and I've even gained huge friendships and networks from just talking about stuff like this, or being in the alien band, or having a shared experience, or anything like that. I might be ranting.
No.
You found your tribe, and that's what we all are looking for. We all want to find our tribes, and that's what this is all about. It's good to see that this has been therapeutic as well.
I was pretty nervous about the first episode. I was like, man, here comes the ridicule again, and I really, the response was actually really good, aside from my mom finding out, a little too soon of the baby on the way. But other than that, it was really relieving to finally get that out again, even more under a microscope, I guess. And it's slowly becoming easier to talk about, especially just knowing how my nerves are compared to how it was when we just first jumped on. Being able to just get it all out again is nice. It's and I hope the same results for others who want to come forth. It's not easy, but they didn't make this easy for a reason, you know.
They don't want it to be easy.
Exactly.
Whoever's behind all this, or whatever's behind all this.
Right.
Yeah, no, exactly. I was going to also say, what do you think of knowing what's happening? So, slight spoiler alert, jump ahead 30 seconds if you still haven't watched Resident Alien, but have you watched Resident Alien, Adam?
I have seen some share of episodes. If there's the new season, I think there's only 2 that are out on Netflix right now. I have to catch up on more.
The other one's on Peacock, but it gets into the Greys.
Okay.
And their responsibility for abductions. So I'm just going to throw out, we're going to have Adam back. I insist when you watch this season that you reach back out to us, because we can even just have a micro episode talking about this, because when I started watching it, obviously in season 2, that's why I keep skipping ahead. If you just pop back in, season 2 has a couple episodes near the end about the Greys and their abduction and what people have had happen from that, right? Season 3 goes way down the rabbit hole with this particular situation, because ironically for this podcast conversation, the Greys are the bad guys, the bad aliens in this particular TV show. And of course they call it a dramedy, like a drama comedy, because there are some very dark things in that show, but
yeah, they hide it right in plain sight.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what you think if you're able to get through it. Obviously, if it's triggering and trauma, we don't need
I've always tried to dive headfirst into those kind of triggering things. I think that flooding is the best way and the best therapy to get through any sort of trauma. I mean, I'm not a therapist doctor guy, but I mean, my experience flooding, even if I'm afraid of heights, so put me in an airplane and I'll try to, jump out of it and get that, either die of a heart attack or I'll get through it, one or the other.
Yeah, no, I'm curious to see, because when I was watching, I thought of you. I was like, Adam would think, what's that?
I'll definitely have to check it out, because I know my friend Austin, he's been rewatching it, and he's kind of been telling me, a little bit as the episodes go along, and I'm like, okay, and then it gives me topics to talk about. It gives me like my window of like, cool, I can talk aliens now, because he's not into it as much as I am, or anything like that. So I kind of have to know my environment when I do discuss it. But yeah, anytime he kind of is like, oh, dude, Resident Alien, this this happened. I'm like, yeah. Well, by the way, there was a treaty between the Greys and the humans, and you just give me a chance to be the hit. You just stand there and be like, what? It's awesome when you just give someone the opportunity.
We've got to get Adam and Phyllis together at some point just to chat, I think.
That would be fun. That would be a fun. We'll have to get a little round table. Maybe also get Shannon on.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
A little round table conversation. So clickety clack that note, Beau. Round table, clickety clack. So Adam, what else is on your list? Because I know we're going to run out of time here soon, but what else is on your list that you wanted to talk about when you came back?
I wanted to hear if there was or wanted to discuss kind of more of this eclipse thing. I mean, I know that's been the topic of hot debate this week, whether it be the end of the world, which obviously didn't happen, or was it CERN pulling us into another parallel dimension and kind of using the sun in some aspect, or was there any reports of, because everyone's been filming the sky, and finally you get the world together to film the sky, but you can't get them to revolt and not pay the taxes. It's funny. But anyway, I don't know. Other than that, the CERN thing was just been blowing my mind up lately. Of just
we're waiting on new Mandela effects.
Yes,
I'm still
and how it pertains to just
Dolly had braces. Dolly had braces in Moonraker. Period. That's
It's Berenstein Bears.
yes.
Oh, we are gonna have a whole Mandela. We're gonna redo Mandela. Our listeners are like, "Where's the other Mandela episode?" And I'm like, "Okay, we're gonna redo the Mandela episode." It just kind of makes you wonder what dimension you were in when you saw whatever it was,
Yeah.
and it stuck for you, right? And I often wonder if there's something. So here's a weird question, and I know we have to wrap up, but weird question. I wonder for people who've had alien experiences and not just seeing UFOs, UAPs, UA, Ramlama Ding Dong, whatever the hell they're calling them now. If there are some people that are more prone to not remember anything about it, or if inherently everybody has something and it's just then how they cope with that, because you gotta wonder if there are people that have had the experience and it just chalked it up to a nightmare or something. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
because I think with a lot, it's like hypnosis. Some people can be hypnotized and other people cannot be hypnotized. You got to wonder what it is that they use to try to squash the memory of what is occurring to you, right? Is it biological or is it something like hypnosis? Like what kind of, how do they do that? And then does it take for some people and then other people like yourself absolutely didn't take, you know? And then do they monitor that and go, well, son of a bitch. Adam
right.
remembers.
I
Patient
mean-
1, 2, 3, 4, XYZ remembers.
You got to think if they're able to remove the memories or suppress them, are they able to add any as well? I mean, are they able to fill my head with the time that was spent in that video with still images of like me still on the ground when I was either somewhere else?
Yep.
You know, instead of just regressing everything, did they just replace?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. That'll be something as part of whenever the studies are known, right? Like when one can identify, because I think in order to really get to the bottom of that, one would have to be able to tell what caused the memory suppression or fragmentation or whatever the right words are that we want to use for different people, and then how to remove it to see, you'd almost have to know how they're doing it.
Right. Yeah, I was always kind of worried about doing the regression hypnosis therapy. I think we touched on that last time too, and it's gonna be scary because I always think about it, and I'm like, man, I can't. I probably won't be able to be put under because I'm subconsciously gonna try to fight it, you know, because I like a challenge. So it's like, even though I'm gonna try to tell myself I got this, I can just go under and like, no, I can't. I'm gonna fight and start listening and just overthinking, and I would like to give it a shot. I think that would be really, really interesting.
I wonder if inherently though you'll have a problem because you don't want that power taken away from you, which might be why you remember what you remember anyway.
Yeah.
Because you're like, nope, you don't get to have that. And it would be interesting, even if you're trying to do it. I think it's kind of like, walking across hot coals. You see people that do that, and then you see people that absolutely opt out of doing that. They're like, nope, not doing it. Even though like that's their causation. It's like putting your hand in the box and all kinds of stuff. Like, can you actually do it? Knowing what's on the other side of that. Weird. Okay. Let's do some shameless self-promotion time, Adam. You are doing a lot of events here and you have your art and your shirts. And so talk about that a little bit for our listeners.
Okay. Yeah, I've been diving into the creature design, and lately it's been a lot of the Wendigos. I've been really studying the Wendigo lore and any sort of like those northwestern cryptids, Canada, that area. The show's coming up. I have one on 420. It's at the Clearwater Library Comic Con.
Love that show. Sad I'm gonna miss it this year, but I love that show.
It'll be my first time actually attending or in that area. I didn't even really know that they had a Comic-Con until recently. They had walked in the toy store and offered us, and they're like, oh yeah, 420, we'll absolutely do it. What else are we gonna be doing that day? So that was cool. And then we have a VHS swap meet at Retro Rat on May the 4th. So it'll be a Star Wars May the 4th thing. I have a booth set up with prints, and I guess I'm going to start pushing that, like, share your experience with me a little bit more in public. I at least want to have the opportunity for them to do it, like share something, have a sign that says, share your experience or anything like that. I've never really thought of pushing more of the alien stuff with this company, only because I don't know if I oversaturated my mind with it with the band and kind of just drawing aliens for 10 years and I needed to pick a different thing. But it should be pretty fun. Been designing just the creatures and throwing them on t-shirts, and currently working on a character called Wendy. It's like a comic book style character. It's like an anti-hero. He's able to transform into a cosmic Wendigo, which is pretty cool. I don't want to disclose too much on that because I'm still working on the funds on that, but got a lot of cool concepts in the works for that, so that should be pretty cool. It'll help kind of tie in the whole purpose of this whole project with the Wendigo art. Because I was thinking about it, I was like, why, if I just put out cool stuff, there's not going to be a reason for them to buy it. I mean, other than the fact that, hey, that's a cool thing. I wanted to integrate a comic book so it has moral and establish more of a connection to people. See if they can relate to this character, and if they can, then that will bring in the purchases of shirts and stuff like that, I guess.
Where can they follow you online?
They can follow me on facebook.com/burnedinsilence. That was my old company name, but that still works. Or I think there's only like one or two other Adam Huttons that are in like movies or something like that. So a Google search still wouldn't kill I guess. But I do have my Etsy that I link a lot of my products through with datumdesignsart.etsy.com. I also recently just got accepted into Sunshine City Scare in May, so that in St. Pete at the Coliseum. So I'll have a little
nice
table
haunted building.
there. Yeah, in the Coliseum. Yeah, that's gonna be fun. Yeah.
Watch the rafters. That's where the shadow figures are supposed to be there. So
all right, will do. This should be a fun experience. There's more opportunity to talk and network with people and share the craft of drawing scary things, as I know you know so well.
very nice.
Adam, thank you so much for coming back and being a part of the show with us a second time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
Of course, and we will have you back again.
For sharing those stories with him. So, and if you've got more, drop us a line.
Please do. Yes.
So.
They have my information, so if you want to send them and any of your stories, that would be really, really cool. I would love to check it out.
Absolutely. So, Mark, where does that leave us on today's fabulous episode?
Well, on this wonderful Getting Ready for the Green Man Fest, we'll say thank you so much, listeners, for joining us. Please send us more emails, send us more messages. We just recorded a live listener questions for our patrons on Patreon last night. That'll be airing shortly. We've got this episode, is done with questions from you all. So thank you so much for that. And if you want to drop us a line, eerietravels.com. You can join the Discord. We've got the link in the show notes. We'll have the links to all of Adam's stuff here in the show notes as well. So please follow him and like his stuff. Also, thanks again to our sponsors. As always, please buy their stuff. It keeps us on the road and keeps us finding more Eerie travels for you. And be watching close because we will have some big announcements very soon, as well as you can find out where we're going to be at our events and appearances. With all that said, I think I've wrapped it all up there. I hate that part. That's the one part I'm not good at. But we will.
You are fabulous at it, Mark. Don't even start.
All right. Well, with that said, all I can say, folks, is make sure when you are listening to us or getting ready for bed at night that you make sure you do one round, check all the doors, check all the lights, and say wonderful good night to the Hat Man standing in your doorway. And we'll see you on the other side.